Hello, my name is Greg Starbuck. I'm a licensed therapist here in California, and I do these topics and kind of topics of interest within the Christian community for those that have an interest in this industry and this profession, the helping profession of being a therapist. And I have, over the years, both in my clinical and hospital work and in my private practice over the years, developed and looked at these topics many times. And it's kind of fun to do a short little vignette or a little segment on a particular topic from a Christian perspective. Now, it doesn't mean these perspectives could be with a non Christian, but they're just educational, they're informational, maybe a little entertaining from time to time, and designed really for interactive discussion and things to talk about. And today's topic is social worker versus therapist. Wow. Now, you would think that maybe there's not much difference, but actually, there's a lot of differences. What we share, though, is remarkably worth talking about. Now, the social worker has and the therapist have similar training. Social worker has a lot more valued training in the area of administration and interactive social and community resources. And I have worked with both many times over many years and worked with some of the most excellent social workers that the industry could and profession could ever come up with. They're wonderful people and very knowledgeable and very good therapists also. And therapists have a little more training specifically in the area of doing therapy, right? So this becomes our focus, not that social workers aren't great therapists, because as I indicated, some are very, very good at it. In the hospital setting, I work with social workers regularly, and as a licensed therapist in a hospital setting, you end up actually doing some social work from time to time. If you're on staff, you get a chance to do a little of everything. And my great appreciation for those social workers that know how to work in the system. And I learned a lot from working with social workers, how valuable that interaction and understanding resources within the community and how to hook people up with local resources to actually make their life a little bit more manageable. And for those that deserve it, and I mean that in the nicest way, the system is providing for those that meet criteria, and that's what I mean by deserve it. They meet criteria to be assisted and helped by social services and or a social worker. And they can function within the system differently than a therapist, like my marriage and family therapist, right? We don't actually interact too much with therapists with Medicare, for example. We don't interact too much with discharge planning, right? That kind of thing, or setting up services for an underage pregnancy where they need resources for that. So praise God for those that do. And I have worked in programs where we had to take on some of those responsibilities, but that wasn't my gift. And I work with social workers where their gifts are amazing, and they can be trusted and worked with because they're at the highest of their profession and they do excellent work. And a hospital can't function without them. And as a therapist, though, some of the valuable things I learned as a therapist from social workers. Now, we even go to not necessarily always go to different schools, but we certainly study differently for our profession and our hours that we have to gain prior to even looking at getting licensed. The hours are different, right? There's some similarities in the hours, right? But very different professions, and they do have their crossovers. So when we take a look at working with social workers and our crossover areas, sometimes I would be called upon to do supervised visits. Now, often that's a social worker that does that, and they're extremely well trained in it. And of course, doing different contracts and working some of the county contract type of work, you're supervised. You supervise a visit, right? So a family that's not doing too well and people are kind of separated, they come into the common environment where you sit and supervise, make sure everything's okay and no one escalates and everything kind of keeps to the letter of the agreement with the court on how things are to work. And I see great value in both. I think both are wonderful to have in a community, serving a little bit different functions, but certainly both are extremely well trained, and I've relied on social workers many times as a therapist. Well, that's kind of a little snippet on the difference between social work and what they do, and a therapist than what we do. We have some similarities and some dramatic differences, right? And gifts and talents, right? We're called differently. So anyway, that's that. And again, just for information, just something to think about a little bit on things to talk about. And so that was our topic for the day today: is social worker versus therapist, and not exhaustive, but kind of a little bit of fun to talk about. Thanks. See you on the next topic.